matter, so it don't matter. You know, I'm tired. I
know,
get that it
that's
was better. Don't get me wrong, it was better. But overall, the biggest problems we had last year remain, and that is concerning because
and mobile quarterbacks are just going to slaughter us.
it
Hello,
just
everybody in the chat. We're just kicking this off with a bit of preamble, but I think we might keep it to around the NFL stuff so we don't save all the good content for later.
oh, I can re-go over this content plenty of times. I'm fine. Probably done it 3 or 4 times already.
True that. I mean, what about Green Bay losing? I know that they were underdogs marginally, but it's so nice to see Aaron Rodgers just get smacked in the mouth.
Well, if they lose again next week, let's get happy. Don't forget, they got blown out by the Saints last year on week 1. And I think LaFleur's got a horrible record, like week 1 of seasons. I don't think his team's ever scored more than 10 points in a week 1 game in the season. They seem to start slow.
Yeah.
So I'm not discounting them just yet. But, kind of glad that everyone who was advocating for Christian Watson's like, oh, we should sign him, we should sign him. That's why we didn't sign him. And that's why we made the right decision going for Jameson instead, because he can't catch for his life.
Yeah, it's
That
nice seeing him get beaten up. Definitely.
I mean, the Falcons look in trouble. I think if you're looking for immediate week 1 ones, throwing that away against the Saints, lack of mental, edge there for them. They just seem to keep throwing away leads.
But I didn't think that they'd be able to hang at all. I thought that the one thing the Falcons had was a mediocre offense. And I thought, you know what, maybe they can move the ball against some weaker defenses. But the Saints have actually got a legit defense. But the Saints' offense is not great. Falcons' offense is not great. So I kind of think, well, the Saints have got the only positive matchup there. So they'll just walk away with that game. And the Falcons did great on offense.
They gave up a 16-point lead to what you have just called a bog standard offense.
Yep.
That says everything. That's mental fragility.
Oh.
If you can't do that against the Saints, then you're going to struggle for the season going forward. So they're firmly in that discussion, as are the Panthers, I reckon. They looked horrible.
Really? I thought the Panthers looked fine. What was wrong with the Panthers? I think
You're
Panthers
losing to Jacoby Brisket.
Okay, by the way, Brissett looked actually a lot better than we've seen him in recent years. He actually came out with some good throws, mobility in the pocket that I haven't seen him have for years. I mean, he looked better than his Indy self. He looked a hell of a lot better than his Miami self. Brissett actually surprised me yesterday.
No, Panthers look bad.
Apparently, Dan Campbell's presser just started, which is just terrific timing.
Yeah.
Good stuff. It will only last 10 minutes.
He said everything you wanted to know about yesterday, really. So probably just be about knocks and stuff today.
I mean, as far as I'm aware, we didn't get in any injuries yesterday, which is positive. But yeah, I didn't hear what Dan said, actually. Did Dan say anything of note?
No, not really.
Fair enough. I mean, we could have won this game. I saw that Goff said we could have hung 50 on him, and it's like...
Did he actually?
Yeah, apparently.
I know we're not talking really much line stuff yet, but I just want to say one thing. The screen pass needs outlawing in Detroit.
Hang on. Hawk tight end screen was really good.
No, I don't care. We nearly got Amon-Ra killed on one yesterday, and we're just not very good at it.
That was rough.
The amount of times... So the whole point of the screen, it's called a screen because you're screening your receiver from danger. We seem to be the only team in the NFL that throws a screen pass and sends no guys out there to screen block. And we just let the guy one-on-one and he gets hit while he's midair catching the damn ball.
It's quite funny. It was almost like a bubble screen from the inside with Penne acting as like a tight end. And he just didn't get anywhere close, did he?
No.
It's so weird.
We just need to outlaw it from our playbook, full stop. We just are not good at it. We always lose yards on it. We very rarely get anything good out of it, and it needs to go. We saw yesterday we've got plenty of other plays in the book we can use, but screen passes, bye-bye. Eliminate them.
Yeah, I think that Goff's thing about... Actually, we're talking Lions, and I don't want to talk Lions before we start, because we're wasting all the good content. But, We scored 35, and Goff had 2 touchdowns he left on the field with guys just wide open, hit him in stride, and they're gone. So that would have been 49. Like, simple.
And all the drops.
Simple math. Oh, but I'm not having it with these drops. The ball was placed badly on the majority of them, and yeah, you'd hope that your guys would.
Absolute bolokes, and you know it is.
No. Absolute rubbish.
Chark's first one was a dolly. Reynolds, Reynolds dropped a doozy before that fumbled snap. He should have had that one right in his hands. Right in his hands, dropped it. That's a big chunk play, that is, and completely changes that drive because he gets sacked on a fumbled snap the next one and the drive's dead. Stupid stuff like that. They were good passes. Goff made some bad ones, don't get me wrong.
Yes, made
some bad ones. But then, I mean, you see the one like to Chark in the end zone, you're like, Christ, that was amazing. It's frustrating, but the receivers were bad yesterday.
How funny is it that Houston-Indy was a tie? That's just fucking hilarious.
That's bad games.
It's graceful.
I think Pittsburgh should be banned from playing football at the minute because it's an offence to the eyes, how badly it is. I mean, we've seen it twice, you know. I actually nearly turned off during preseason. I've never turned off a Lions game before, ever. I was close. I was close last season when we played them in the season there, and this one against the Bengals, it was just, oh my God, it's so bad. It's like their defense it's like the Bears, their defense keeps them in all their games and makes the plays, and the offense is just a rambling mess, which occasionally gets points.
5 turnovers and a pick 6, and you only amass 23 points after 69 minutes is not a recipe for success. I was watching with a Steelers fan yesterday, and lots of head shaking.
Just so many weird storylines out there. I don't think Chicago stay anywhere near that game if Lance isn't just a moron. Like,
or
many
if the
bad
pitch isn't
plays.
A swimming pool. How that game was allowed to go ahead with all that standing water on the pitch.
I know we hate the Bears. I hate the Bears more than pretty much anyone else in the NFC North, but I loved their Klinsmann celebration at the end. That was class.
There's an excellent photo of the still of the whole team. It's seriously good.
Did you see the line on the actual, you know, where the sideline or whatever? It was just as wonky as fuck. There's a great picture of that as well. The place is absolutely falling down. And the guy with his popcorn, with all like the water just pumping into his popcorn, and just slung it. Absolutely, looks like it. They'll be begging to move from there, I think, soon.
It's just so annoying because now they can gloat. You know, they basically used the weather to help get a win there. Now they're just like they're above us again already. It's like, same old story.
Well, I mean, if you want to talk about teams that are above us, well, Green Bay are the same as us. So does that make us good? I mean, it's so bollocks. Like, let's not talk about the standings in week 1.
Didn't the Packers get beat? Was it last year? It was 38-3 in week 1.
I've said this already. The Packers have never scored more than 10 points under LaFleur in the first game of the season. Yeah. There just seems to be something about week 1 which he doesn't like.
But never mind about week 1.
Let's give him a 1-game head start.
But the thing is, he made Valdez-Scantling look good, but we've always just assumed it was Rodgers. What if Valdez-Scantling actually deserves a slight bit of praise for what happened there, and Devontae Adams has gone, and Lazard is injured, and suddenly this is not the Green Bay team of old. Like, that defense may be good, but it didn't look great last night. It looked fine. It looked better than an average defense, but if they want to get into the playoffs, they need to have the number 1 overall defense, because that offense is fucking awful. The thing is, they'll have a great shot against us because we can't stop the run.
I mean, yeah, offensively, it was a horrible week. Really, this was one for the purists and the good defenses here. I mean, didn't we score the 3rd most points in the NFL this week?
4th, I think.
Oh, 4th.
I think. I'm just having a look through now. So we scored.
Oh, it might have been 3rd by the end of obviously Philly, the Chiefs.
Philly, Chiefs, and no, that's it. You're right. 3rd. 4th. Yeah. Philly. Oh no, 3rd. Philly and Chiefs, and that's it. Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Sweet. We scored more than Buffalo, so we're better than them. That's how
Just
it
got to
works.
try and avoid giving
And
up.
that is on record as Matt saying Jared Goff is better than Josh Allen. There we go.
That's definitely what I said. Oh, I'd give a lot for Josh Allen to be on this side.
Oh well, you get to see him soon enough.
I think he's my favorite player in the league. I was thinking this over the weekend, like non-Lions division, but as in he's just everything about him is awesome in terms of the way he plays the game on the field, off the field, the fact he looks like he's having fun, the fact he's so wildly talented, the fact that loads of people, myself included, completely wrote him off because of like he seemed like one of these classic traitsy guys, but couldn't hit a barn door. I'm such a big fan.
All right, Ryan is coming in. Just want to give a shout out to everyone who's chatting along with us. Free Johnny, Ken Stouder, Hatter's House 710, Lions Talk with Micro Mike by Chat Sports, and then Big Aries and Ashley Soden in the Twitch chat. Thank you for being with us early and hearing all the preamble. Just waiting for Ryan to come in, and then we're going to kick this off. Any other takeaways from NFL Week 1 so far?
Thank God football's back.
Yeah.
That was my main takeaway.
And Dan Pascal.
I just want to give a big shout out to Randy Bullock for exposing how bad the Titans are. They did not deserve to win that game the other day, and if they had, it would have been one of the biggest injustices of all time. They are the most fraudulent team in this league at the minute.
Dan Pascal also in the chat, and Ash has just said apparently Barnett tore his ACL yesterday in the game against us. He's done for the year potentially.
Yeesh.
Ouch.
No, the DC's getting a lot of heat today.
Well,
they were very mean. That Philly Inquirer article was horrible. They said that, oh God, they compared our offense to, what was it, the lamest show on earth or whatever they call it. And it's just like, hang on there a little bit, sunshine. You know, we got as good an O-line as you have.
You could not be more northern if you tried. Hey up, sunshine. You know, we don't talk like that from down here.
Don't you think that's a bit disrespectful, being a southerner trying to mimic a northerner? That's like really, you know, that's racist. Not called for. Racist. That's not cool. That's not cool, man. You don't hear me trying to mimic Ryan's, you know, accent from down there, do I? Because I don't. You know, it's wonderful in this way it is and how
right,
it's
geez, you're right. Proper London, you know.
You're just trying to offend the entire panel before we start.
Yeah.
Ryan's here now. Go on, crack a Yorkshire accent off now, just to have a go on with Ryan. Go on, while you're here.
I mean, if we're being technical, Ant's not a northerner. Really, are you?
Whoa. What the hell do you mean?
I mean, if Ant is a northerner, what does that make me? Like,
Scottish.
Yeah,
I might as well be
as Scottish as Steve. We're technically Midlands, but we're North Midlands, so I consider myself North.
You're above the Birmingham dividing line, so...
Okay. You're above Watford.
Yeah.
You know what people say? If you're above Watford, you're Northern.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. Southerners
you're
don't
below
know
Carlisle. You're below Carlisle, you're relevant.
Yeah. You ever seen like an atlas on a map, and a southern map? It's like it stops at Watford. They don't actually realise there's like another, like a northern part of the country. It just doesn't exist. It's
above
just
that, yeah, and it's like we went to
just see there. It's
and
like
we went and did took work. Oh man, Drew's in the chat. He's saying, "A second, Ryan. Can the podcast contain this many?" It's a battle to the death,
and it's already started. You know, cultural warfare apparently, Matt, started on this one, so
I can only apologise. Sorry, that's the impression of myself. There we go.
Well, we will all try and speak posh with our ums and our ahs to satisfy your southern, like, curiosity.
Use proper diction, darling. Yeah.
Yes, my elocution will be perfect. Is this better?
I love it.
Now that I've lost the ducks and the gears and the now then. Properly. Now then.
Dan asks, who likes cider or shandy among you guys? I mean,
love cider.
Time and a place for both.
Both, yeah, both. I'll take both.
Yeah.
No, neither.
Shandy, criminally underrated after a round of golf. You want that little bit of sweetness in there too, just to get you going. If you're a bit hungover, you need that. Shandy, criminally underrated across the board.
I've never understood a lager top. I love a shandy, but the lager top is like, what are you doing? Like,
I love it.
Yeah.
Really? No!
Just a little one, like literally that much. Just a little squirt. Bosh. That's it. Sweet. Gets me
Little
going.
squirt is all you need.
Cider. Could drink that all day and all night, but that's an easy drink. So.
Can you imagine if you came onto this podcast wanting to listen to Detroit Lions content, and here we are talking about little squirts in the top of a pint?
The good thing is normally we're pissed doing this, especially over the last few years. So at least, like, you know, they're
The
not
Lions made me drink. All right. Shall we crack on with this, fellas? All right. Okay. Gonna hit the record and give it a start. If I can find the record button. Where's it gone? There we go.
Recording in progress.
Welcome to another edition of the Roar of the Lions UK podcast, episode 140. That one hurts. My name's Matthew Turner, alongside co-hosts and Ryan, and Tom. How you doing, boys?
Good evening.
Good eve.
Evening. I'm a bag of mixed emotions. That's how I feel. I'm very conflicted.
Not the only one.
Seconded.
Thirded even.
What a good tee up for some discussion.
Yeah, we're just going to kick off with a little bit of news, as we always do, before getting into the Eagles chat bit of the introductory stuff to start, though. Discord channel, don't forget to hit us up there. We had quite a few people come in yesterday, and it really enriched the community, and please do come and be a part of that. I will tweet out a link. I think actually I tweeted one out at the start of yesterday, but I'll put one out in the chat, so if any of you guys want to join us, it's a really great place to be during game day. College Football Podcast is coming up this week as well, and another terrific weekend of action, fellas. What are you going to be talking about?
I have literally no idea. there were about like 50 upsets this weekend, and it's trying to figure out a schedule of what to talk about. But yeah, Blood Week came early, and lots of people got upset. So yeah, gonna be very interesting.
What were the biggest upsets for you this week, just to kind of get a flavour of what you might talk about? I know there were loads, but who's the biggest star to fall this week?
Well, hang on, don't let Ryan start talking about this one, or he'll go for about the next hour. I want to save this for Wednesday. Yeah, it was Notre Dame.
Hey, what a shame. 0-2. And mind you, Nebraska fired their head coach. That was fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, it cost them $15 million to fire him. Do you know how much it would have cost them on the 1st of October? $7.5 million. His buyout dropped. But that is a business decision. I'll tell you that. Fire him now.
Got rid of him.
Yeah. Yeah, he's gone.
He is shit. They are shit. He was shit last year.
Yeah, we are literally just past the 2-week mark. That's it. There's only been 3 games for some teams, and they've already started firing people. So
the fun thing is they didn't discover anything they didn't know already. They knew exactly this last year. So I don't get it. If they're going to run with it, wait another 3 weeks. I don't get it. But if you want to hear more about that, you want to tune in later on this week for the College Football Show. Don't forget to like and sub on this episode if you can, and rate us on Apple Podcasts and all that good stuff. Really helps us out with what we're doing here. And download the app at Lions Nation Unite as Herman Moore's project to bring the best in Lions content to the masses. And we're also a Twitch affiliate. If you've got a Prime subscription with Amazon, you're not using your free Prime sub, please do chuck it our way. It doesn't cost you a penny, but definitely helps us out with what we do. Right, let's kick us off with some news. And Tracy Walker, if you didn't watch the game, you won't know that he was ejected last night. It's likely that he's going to face a fine only, but no ban for, and I'm going to tentatively say throw a punch, but it wasn't really a punch, and it wasn't really a slap, boys, but good news that we're going to hopefully have him for week 2, because he had a good game.
It was a southern punch. I.e., not
Don't
one.
you start.
By southern, he means Britain, not America. Just
Yeah.
get that one in there.
I'm firing my shots back in while I can. If that's a punch, then I give up trying to define what a punch is. It was not a punch. It was a clip round the head, as we call it up here in the north. That is what it was. and it was ridiculous that he got thrown out for it. It's ridiculous he got thrown out altogether, but I guess we'll discuss this later. But I'm just going on record as saying the refs were horrible in this game, and that was the worst decision of the lot.
Next bit of news, Levi was placed on IR in between the last time we spoke with you guys and now. Disappointing, he'll miss the first 4 weeks, but it's going to give an opportunity to other guys to shine, I think, although perhaps not in this most recent game, but yeah, we'll talk about that in just a moment. Tahir Whitehead, the linebacker, has retired. A Lion, the former Lion and Raider, I believe he was. Felt so much of an affinity with us that he came back to sign a one-day contract to retire a Lion. And the kicker Dominic Eberl was signed to the practice squad, with Aldrich Rosas going to practice squad IR. He'll miss the next 4 weeks before returning. Just on Whitehead, to reminisce for a bit, I remember him being effective, if not the most smart person I've ever seen in the world. A bit of Jared Davis before Jared Davis, a little bit maybe. And also had an odd propensity to come out there with an odd, horrific tackle with, head first, shall we say. Anyone have any memories of Whitehead in the last 10 years or so?
I liked Whitehead. Was he a 5th rounder? He was a late-ish rounder, I think. He got a load of reps for the Lions, right? And during the times when we weren't a kind of garbage fire, like during the Patricia era. So for a day 3 guy to come in, make the team, I love the fact that he wanted to come back and retire a Lion. I think that's a pretty nice sign. So, yeah, I've got pretty good memories of him. I mean, he was no superstar, but feel like he did a job as a late round guy, got starting reps and was part of successful Lions teams.
I mean, I'd have suited him up. He could have played for us yesterday. Probably been an improvement on some of the guys, to be perfectly honest, in the middle. Yeah, he was a tackling machine. He was reckless. He wasn't good at much else. I do remember that. It was pretty much a liability in other areas, but he'd get you 100, 110 tackles a year. And he was reliable. He'd finish guys off. I was surprised he returned. Like, he must have had some affinity, because, like I say, a lot of people, when he left Detroit, kind of just said, well, thanks for your service, bye. Not the kind of guy you expect to return, like I say, which is quite a nice surprise. So, yeah, it's great to see. Like I say, I feel like some of the big, more profile names that we expect to won't, but it was a nice surprise that someone that obviously held us fondly in our hearts has decided to come back and hang him up here. So that's nice to see.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, let's move this on, and we will talk the Eagles game. We elevated Justin Jackson, the running back, and Anthony Pittman, the linebacker, for this game. Inactives: Tommy Kramer, Ifeatu Melifonwu, Julian Okwara, James Mitchell, Chase Lucas, and Demetrius Taylor, which was baffling to me. Just on those points, boys, I don't know if there were maybe just not any other people that we could drop, but given that Levi was out, and given that Lucas is probably Nickelback 2, I was surprised that they were the two, especially Mitchell. I can understand because Zylstra's there and Mitchell still needs some reps maybe in practice, but Lucas and Taylor were especially surprising to me. Anyone with me on this?
I think it might work in the long run for Lucas, because, I'll let someone else take shots at him later, but the guy who he's fighting against, well, I say fighting, gave up one big play in this game and looked absolutely atrocious. So they're not gonna inactive Lucas again with this guy on the roster. So he'll come back quick. Demetrius, he'll take time. You don't forget he's an undrafted free agent who's made this roster. You've still got some fine tuning and that you need to do with him. That's probably why you brought Bugs Bunny in for now, just to help whilst you get Demetrius ready. So, I'm maybe not surprised, but I know for a fact Lucas won't be again because of the performances of certain players yesterday.
And just from you get the impression that Lucas was one of the last guys on the roster anyway, right? So I don't think it's a surprise to see him as a 7th rounder. See him not activated. Taylor also is not going to offer anything on special teams. So when it comes to the rotation right now, until he starts cracking reps, it's understandable that one of the DTs, either him or probably Benito Jones, is it Benito Jones? But basically, one of those two I would have expected to be on it. So I don't think it's too concerning. Like I say, I think I'd be quite excited. Even if Lucas gave up plays, it wouldn't bother me, to be honest. Young guy. I'd like to see him on the field.
I mean, I wasn't surprised Lucas didn't play, even if he was active. He wasn't in the field because Mike Hughes played really well, and he's a nickel corner. That's it. You don't put him outside. I feel like someone like Dallas Goddard would have absolutely taken Chase Lucas to the cleaners. If they'd seen him on the field, they would have gone straight after him, and it would not have been pretty. So I think it was the best decision. Maybe next week is the kind of game to break some of the rookies in. No disrespect to the Commanders, but compared to the Eagles, well, they're a lot shitter. So it's a nice game to get some reps in.
Right, I'm going to go through some of the key plays, just kind of reel some of them off, and then maybe stop periodically and see if you guys want to kind of jump in with any thoughts on that period of time, and then maybe just do some high-level takeaways to finish about the kind of predominant themes of the game. May not go to everyone just because there's 5 of us on, so we'll see how that goes. But what a great start to the game to begin with. Success on offense and defense. Feels like it was the only time that really that kind of came together apart from the end. Second play from scrimmage, Swift had that 51-yard rush. Lovely kind of sealing off by Amon-Ra St. Brown to break him free for that. Stenberg, though, on the back of that, gave the back-to-back false starts, which was really frustrating. Could have been a drive killer. Ended up not being. Hock kind of reached for the sticks on 3rd down and maybe didn't get there, but he was given it. And then kind of go over for the touchdown, which is great. Lions D-line penetrating early. Okuda had a really nice pass break up on Smith on 3rd down. They went for it on 4th in our own territory, and Amani got one of his few really good plays on A.J. Brown to turn it over on downs. Gave us some really good field position, but unfortunately went 3 and out. And from then on, it was all Philly in that first half. There's some good tackling in there, bits and pieces. Walker on A.J. Brown. There was a crossing route that A.J. Brown had over the middle. Looked like he was going to break it to the house, and Walker kind of hauled him down by his ankles, which was really, really good. But Hurts just killing us with his legs pretty much the whole way through. Big 3rd and 4 to A.J. Brown, kind of threaded the needle in the red zone, kind of in between 2 defenders. That's the sort of precision from Hurts I'm not used to seeing, so that was a bit disheartening to see. And then just before that first touchdown, Hurts got battered down at the line by Tracy Walker, and it looked like he could have picked it. He certainly thought he could have picked it, and what a game changer that would have been. But on 4th down, Hurts in an RPO got Malcolm Rodriguez to bite hard on the Sanders handoff and walked in for the touchdown to level it up at 7 apiece. And let's just stop there with a kind of end of that segment of things. 7-all. We can kind of wrestle back the momentum, but it feels like it's maybe starting to turn against us. But it was an encouraging start, boys. Ryan Farden, what did you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, the first drive was really, promising. A lot of runs. Swift obviously with the big play, and it was really exciting. The crowd was up for it. I haven't heard Ford Field so loud for quite some time, and it was just everything was quite impressive. Like the blocking and everything, and lanes for Swift to get at them, and I thought it was really patient, and obviously they probably had this start in their mind for a long time during the week, but yeah, was really impressed, really excited with that start. Just a shame that the next few possessions we had we didn't really do anything with, and obviously couldn't stop Hurts in that first half with his legs. So but the start wise, absolutely fantastic.
Anyone else want to jump in with any other thoughts on that start?
I think the first drive on defense was really a sign of things to come. So even though we did get off the field eventually, it was a couple of times where Hutch got fingertips to Hurts but didn't get him down. And I think there was no spy on in the 3rd and 15, which meant Hurts again runs for first down. It was just, even though we did get off the field eventually, it was just a sign of what was happening. And I think actually a sign of the defensive game plan as a whole, just not doing enough to contain Hurts, right? And I don't think that's hugely deep analysis in saying that. I think we all saw it, but a little frustrating, to be honest. Even just going back to the Eagles touchdown, the play before the score itself, on 3rd down, it's Barnes on the inside shoulder and someone else outside, but Hurts escapes the pocket. We have 2 defenders, one on each shoulder, within a couple of yards of him. Barnes over pursues, Hurts cuts back, and instead of it being 4th and 5, it was 4th and 1. And in terms of it was 4th and goal, but you know what I mean? 5 yards to go, 1 yard to go. It was little things like that. There seemed to be so many kind of what if moments throughout the game. And that was definitely one because, yes, on the 4th down play, Rodrigo definitely got caught with his eyes inside. Barnes looked like he gave up contain again, which was a theme. But if it's 4th and 5, you're backing your defense there a lot more than 4th and 1, right? So a bit frustrating, but a sign of things to come, really, for what happened.
I mean, it's a new season, but it's the same old problems with this team. I thought I was going to be a lot more positive about this after, but especially, you score on the first drive, you impose your will on them, you drive down the field, you get the score, you were then able to get their offense off the field. You're 7-0 up, you're driving. What is the one thing Detroit has not been able to do for years and years and years at the NFL level? They can't keep scoring. They can't keep the scoreboard moving. Don't forget, that second drive we had, we got it, on about our own 40, our own 45, because it was a turnover on downs. What are we, 3 and out? Stupid screen pass out to the right where we nearly get Amon-Ra killed because we didn't block for him, which is a pass that needs obliterating from the Lions playbook because we can't screen pass to save our lives, and we're putting our receivers in danger because of it. You then have to start running the ball. They know it is. They load the box up. We get 4 yards. You've got to pass again. They send the house against Jared Goff. He throws it wildly into the middle of nowhere. Your drive's dead. You're giving them the ball back. And what was it after that? Another 3 drives we had, or at least 2 where we went 3 and out after that. And there are these periods of the game where we can't score points. We can't keep the scoreboard moving, and we let the momentum get against us. The defense is on the field forever and a day, and it makes some good plays, also makes some bad plays where it can't get off on third downs. And, you give up 24 points, and all of a sudden the game's beyond you. No matter how hard you fight, you cannot give up 24 points in a game of NFL football and expect to win because you're just trying to dig yourself out a hole for the rest of the game. And I saw that again yesterday, and it just made me sick. Third downs, we were terrible. Whether it be a running play from Jalen Hurts, extending the play, getting the first down, or him just going to AJ Brown, who quite frankly abused Amani Oruwariye all day. And, I was unsure about whether we pay him next year or not. I think it's gone 15-20% in favor of I don't want to pay him a dime when this season is done, just because of how bad he was yesterday. There was one play when he was on the line of scrimmage against AJ Brown, and AJ just swam him, just straight past, gone, all the space in the world. Third down, converted, drive carries on. Got to expect you guys to come up and perform better in that situation there. And I'm sorry, but that was the same problem we had last year. We can't keep the scoreboard running. We give up loads of points in quick succession in a game, and we can't dig our way out of it. So what's changed? Nothing.
Yeah, I'll move it on maybe, and then I'll come to you, Ryan, next for the first one, shall I? So on that next kind of set, obviously we already said, a few guys have said, the Lions offense went a bit anemic, a few 3 and outs. Hurts then flips the ball out of bounds when he's escaping the pocket a couple of times. He's not chucking it away. He's absolutely desperate to get rid of the ball and just kind of flings it forward, but with very little control. It's kind of loose to me that turns into an incompletion rather than a fumble, because it's not really passing it, but never mind. So then kind of they drive into the red zone. We get some pressure on him on the left hash. He moves 2 steps to his left, then flings the ball into the turf when he's falling down. No receiver in the area, no grounding called. I think that was one of the really kind of major blown plays that I saw in the game. But, no grounding was called, but we then kind of get a really good run stop to put it into kind of 3rd and goal from the 10. But there's 12 men on defense on that play. Absolute killer for us. They turn into a 2nd and 5 instead and manage to punch it in with Miles Sanders. And it's just one of those things, the discipline all the way through the game was just kind of lacking a little bit, whether it was a flag here or there or 12 men or that sort of thing. It just wasn't the detail, the devil in the detail, and it didn't quite turn up for us in that one. And then the next set, we had Goff with the pick 6 by Bradbury. Hawks stick and nod option route. Apparently, Hock is meant to take the stick route if he sees that Goff is under pressure, and otherwise he's meant to nod upfield if he's got time to throw and try and break it for a big one. Hock, you see him turn back, he literally has a quarter of a second to make that decision. But for me, you see the nose tackle, or whoever it was, beat his guy and be right up in Goff's face. Hock needs to see that and take the stick route, the emergency route out. Goff knew he was under pressure and assumed Hock would see the same thing, ends up throwing the stick. Now, it's a really risky throw anyway, so I hate the concept of the throw. But Goff chose the right thing for his circumstances, and Hock just missed the pressure. I mean, you see him turn back, and maybe the pressure just came a bit quick, and when Hock turns back, there isn't any. I don't know. I can't see through his eyes, but I'm going to stop there and just go to Ryan to maybe talk about that play in particular or anything that we've just talked about so far. What did you make of it up to that point, Ryan?
Hock piss poor again. I'm losing patience with him. His value for me, I'm not re-signing him. Shit blocking. Like I said, another holding call, another penalty. Even more times it could have been caught for holding because he just can't stop grabbing people. Like I say, he didn't. Most people put the blame on him, like you say. He didn't take the safe route. He turns upfield, turns round, and he sees the ball going the other way. Yeah, like I say, maybe Goff should have thrown the ball away, tried to live another day, but he thought he was going to take the safe option, take the check down, which is best at communication. But yeah, same shit, different day. 12 men in the huddle. For fuck's sake. Like that, I almost choked on the brew at that point. That is the kind of shit that literally drives me insane when we just kill ourselves like that. Like I say, a third and difficult turns into a second and manageable. And at the goal line, we've got hurts. When we're over-committing, we're over-pursuing, we're taking poor angles. It's candy to a baby. They were always going to punch that in, weren't they? So that was just really frustrating. This was the start of an awful 2 quarters. And I am with Ant, like you say. Yesterday, saw things, slept on it. I don't think we're any closer than we were last year. Just because we score a lot of points does not mean that we were any better. Like I said, they genuinely took their foot off in the second half. So the final score to me was irrelevant. But this second quarter just capitulated everything I didn't want to say. Lack of discipline. Like I say, third downs, just dreadful. There's no awareness of down and distance. Like I said, people just genuinely sometimes don't know where they are, don't know how far there is to go, and they just can't seem to grasp it. This is their chance to get off the field. Lapse of concentration. And then, like I said, generate 90 pressures in the game, but it was either bad angles, over pursuing. Like I say, you get there, I'm like, Jalen Hurts isn't Houdini. He didn't just put your arms out and he turned into a cloud of smoke. You went past him, or you were too aggressive, or things like that. There were chances to get sacks in this game and get off the field, but they just didn't come. Like I said, the D-line flushed him out. But like I said, there was no one there to scoop him up, and they just took him away. And that was really annoying. They got him out of his comfort zone. He was not allowed to stand and just take shots, but there was no one there following up. There was no Fox in the box, and it was just terrible. The fact we got into that half, how little far behind we were so lucky. We did not deserve to be. They should have put us to bed in that second quarter, and they didn't. So I was very frustrated going at halftime.
Any more thoughts up to that point? Anyone have any takes on that particular Hock play, perhaps?
So it's hard. Did Campbell come out and say what should have happened, or because?
So from what I just said, there was a load of chat in the chat about Hock going to the sideline and Dan. So it's not what I saw. People in the chat are saying, and Dan Campbell agreed with Hockenson about how he saw it, which is not what I saw. I saw Dan Campbell say, "I know what you saw. I know what you saw," which is not the same as "you are right." So I don't know, but yeah.
Because there were a few instances throughout the game where Goff tried to force balls into windows which weren't there. There was a number of times where he'd be making a throw, the ball that went to Slay and should have been picked. But there's other times where players are surrounded by Eagles defenders. And with this one, if you look at where the ball is actually placed, like a stick route, he should basically stick his foot in the ground and turn around. The ball is a good few yards to the left of that. And even at the point he pulls the trigger, that defender is on hot hit. So I'm just struggling. I feel like it's something we've seen before with Goff, which is when you see pressure, he makes bad decisions. That ball shouldn't have come out anyway. And I can't see even a stick route in there. If that was the play, then he's 2 yards offline throwing it left of that anyway, because the Eagles defender is diving at full extension to make a play away from him. So there's a whole range of things there. It's always hard. I always wonder how PFF does things like that. Like, who are you passing blame to in that situation? Because you never really know. But unfortunately, I think we've got a big enough sample size that we've seen what happens with Goff when he has pressure in his face, especially, and decision-making when it comes to guys who are covered up. And I think there was definitely a trend throughout the day that the Lions receivers, there were times when they stretched the field a little, but I saw a lot of times where there wasn't much separation. And actually, he was either having to force balls in there because there was nowhere else to go, or the receivers couldn't really stretch it. So, yeah, it's for me, and again, I'm sure we're going to come on to Goff in a bit more detail. It's hard to give him the benefit of the doubt when we've seen a lot of this already last year and a lot of these kind of plays. So it could be that they're both in the wrong. It could be that they both did what they were meant to do and it just happened. But I struggle to give Goff the benefit of the doubt in that.
Yeah, Goff should have been intercepted, I think. I can't remember the guy's name, but number 23 for the Eagles, I remember that much. He should have had him intercepted. He threw a ball.
It was Slay. It was Slay, I think, the one you're talking about.
No, that was later on in the game.
Okay.
I think that one, yeah.
Gardner Johnson, I
He
think.
picked off a lot in that
Yeah.
first half as well. I mean, it was atrocious. I mean, it's basically, you know what you're going to get with Goff, and everyone. I think everyone's seen enough to know, you know, there's going to be good days, there's going to be bad days. But some of the decision making was just really shocking. I mean, I know that DJ Shark didn't start off great yesterday, and you know, and everything like that, but it was poor. There's throws to be made out there, and I don't think he made them. Well,
the receivers didn't help. They were bad for a lot of this. I mean, I think yesterday you saw a microcosm of Jared Goff's 2021 season. The first half was that first half of the season where he lacked confidence. His throws were errant. He made turnover-worthy plays, and you just didn't have any confidence that he was going to do anything at all, like we did through the first 9-10 games last year. In the second half, you kind of saw him be, you felt more confidence in him. Some of the throws he made were really good. His command seemed to get better. His confidence seemed to get better. Like the second half of the season, you got the 2021 season experience in one game yesterday. Now, the question with him is, which side prevails more going forward? Was it just nerves? Was it just first game? A lot of offenses struggled this week. A lot of better quarterbacks than him struggled a lot more this week. So can you write it off there? You don't know, but you're right. You saw both sides of him there, but hopefully it only lasts one game this year, not 10.
That's the key, right? Last kind of series before the half for the Lions was kind of proceeding down the field and then kind of getting stopped just short and converting a 4th and 1 for a touchdown. So, I mean, probably my favorite play of the game, but kind of going heavy set on the right-hand side of the formation, running a really nice counter move with Jackson pulling, and just, he's so fast, Jackson. I really don't give him credit for being that mobile a guy, but getting out in front, and I mean, Swift could have walked in with the amount of room he got. I mean, Swift might have done it himself, even without Jackson as a blocker, having to just beat one guy one-on-one, but we maybe know Swift isn't the best guy to kind of truck someone in that way, although he had a good game in that regard and did break a couple of tackles, but really, really nice kind of play design on that by Ben Johnson, who had a kind of up and down day. We did see, as the guys have said, some miscommunication with receivers and maybe not getting too much separation sometimes. But then you get plays like that in the run game that just works out in a really, really nice way. Eagles then finished off the half with 1:45 left to start. And this was the play where A.J. Brown just kind of bullied Will Harris on the outside in the 2-minute drill. There was some big tackles and a knockdown at the line after that point to limit Philly to 3, and that felt like a big moment. It felt like a touchdown there buries you at that point. There's no chance, and holding them to a field goal just about keeps you within reach. 10-point game at the half, but it just goes to show why maybe Will Harris just shouldn't be out there. Outside cornerback. And, I mean, AJ Brown was doing it to everyone. It wasn't just Will Harris. And the coverage, I thought, was actually really good. He was handsy, kind of pulling him as much as he could get away with him, blanketed him, but the throw and the catch was just better than he was on the day. I don't know. So you guys on the run play for the touchdown for the Lions and that AJ Brown play, what do you think?
No, sorry. Will Harris got dragged along like AJ Brown was wearing a scarf. He just picked him up and took him for about 10 yards. It's ridiculous. He's the worst defensive back in the entire NFL, and I'm not going to be convinced otherwise. No, he is. I swear down, he is. He's absolutely atrocious. He only played 7 snaps yesterday, and one of them was that. Don't know what dirt he's got on ownership here, but if that is the price of keeping Chase Lucas down on the inactive list for 1 week, then it's a price worth paying, because hopefully Lucas is going to take that spot from him now, and he ain't going to see the field again. It was ridiculous. We'd done well to that point. We'd taken the time out. There was a chance we could have got the ball back after that, and he went and completely and utterly blew it. And it's just fed up of these plays where, it was yet another opportunity to get off the pitch and get the ball back. So as far as that goes, that was frustrating. And you know what? The touchdown itself was frustrating for us. I love the fact that we got it. And I mean, people have completely forgotten that Brock Wright made that play happen. Everyone talks about Jonah Jackson, but Brock Wright made that play happen. He got a block in to seal the edge. That play would never have happened if he'd have done that. Wouldn't have mattered if Jackson had got his in. So the two of them did really. In fact, the entire team blocked well in the run game. Every single person did really well in that and has to be given kudos. But how the hell did we have such a successful first drive and then for the rest of the half be completely impotent until right before the half when we score again? It was either we had a great drive, killed clock, put points on the board, or nothing. What's happening with that nothing in between? Where's the play calling going? Where's the aggression? Where's the commitment to the run game to get yourself going? It's frustrating as hell. Because again, we basically lost the game by this point, and we were digging out a hole for the umpteenth time. So it was great that we scored, but it's like, where the hell was that for the massive part of the half? Not at the beginning or not at the end.
Yeah, it feels like we always kind of do things when we need to do them. And, when we have opportunities to go and extend like a lead or, and stuff like that, we never seem to do it. It's just like we always kind of, we'll hit back just before half time. And like, it was a 3-point game or something at that point, I believe, or whatever. But I don't know, this might only be a small little thing, but it annoyed me that we ran it on with like 3 seconds left before the 2-minute warning. I would have rather just, it's most likely that we were going to score on that drive, and they made that we scored on a 4th and 1, instead of just taking the time with the 2-minute warning. I mean, if we didn't get the touchdown, then it would have been a run anyway and kept the clock going. And they probably would have taken off at least another 40 seconds off the clock. I just think that's something that just always kind of annoys me. I mean, it might be something small, or I don't know, but would they have gone on to like a 75-yard play, in the next, would they have gone and done what they've done? I don't know, but yeah, Will Harris, by the way, I completely agree. It's absolutely atrocious, but what can you say? Well, that hasn't already been said about him.
Anything unique you guys want to take on that, or has it pretty much been said?
At least. The only good thing is that they said that it was just managing Jeff's snap account. Like you say, so Will Harris, piss off. I don't want to see him taking more snaps. You can just do one. Jeff's fine. You don't need to take his snaps. So, like you say, goodbye. Like you say, go back to safety. Do something.
I haven't put it in my notes actually, but Jeff got pinged for DPI, which is like the weakest call I've ever seen. He put his hands on the receiver just for like a microsecond. It didn't affect where he was going. So I just shouldn't.
I just want to say the refs were shocking in this, and I don't mean just against us. Like you said, there were some questionable maybe spots for us as well, but that whole thing about Hurts throwing it away and then, the commentators, oh, there's a receiver in the area. What do you mean there's a receiver in the area? He's about 7 yards away. Do you call that in the area? There was at least twice he did it when, it needed to be. Mailata was trying to take Hutchinson out his clothes. He was on the shoulder pad trying to rip his shirt off multiple times and did not get called for it. Just stuff like this. They had a rotten game from start to finish for both sides. And it's just, I'm fed up of this substandard officiating we get in these games as well. Because some of it could have been costly as well. I mean, when Goff got sacked on one, there was a clear face mask in there. A very, very clear face mask. And it's just like, not called.
Yeah.
But, oh, you can spot when we've got 12 men on the field, but you can't spot when a quarterback's dumping it off, not getting back to the line of scrimmage. You only Hawkeye when it seems to go against us. It's stupid. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Right. Out of the half, we were hoping for the best. Eagles obviously is get 3 to go in, only 10 points up. We're hoping to kind of get a 3 and out, but it's not the case. The Eagles proceed down the field once again like nothing's changed before a game rushing for a touchdown where people were around him walking into the end zone, but just not looking for the ball, which is really disappointing. And the tackling, especially in the interior defensive line, was really, really poor. Then we had the Goff almost getting picked by Slay, overthrowing Josh Reynolds, and it was by Slay's feet, but that's one that he'd like back, I think. On the next drive, Lions actually start to put something together again. Nice tight end screen to Hawk for 16, and we heard your theory on the screenplay game earlier, but that one actually worked out for us. And then a lovely Goff scramble, beating a man with his leg, sidestepping him on 3rd and 7 for the first down in the red zone, so condensed part of the field. Not exactly the fastest guy in the world. I love to see that. He surprised us a few times with his legs last year, and he did it again. And then a really nice touchdown to Amon-Ra St. Brown to finish it off. Drag China route with Swift as well, doing the... So that's the Texas route, I think, where you go from shotgun running back out and then back in again over the top. So kind of running along the goal line for Amon-Ra, and it never works out in Madden, this play for me, but he managed to get the ball at the goal line and kind of extend. It was really, really good. I know that his brother scored within seconds of that play as well. Like, the timing is super, super close for the Bears receiver Equinemius St. Brown scoring at the same time. So that kind of brought it a bit closer. Only a 10-point game again, boys. We can do this. But Philadelphia back up their touchdown with another touchdown. We obviously had the attempt at an onside kick, which didn't work. And I'm going to stop here at this point. But we had the kickoff at this point, 10-point game. And instead of going for a proper kickoff, he goes for like a little chip. And it's just frustrating. Philly get the ball at midfield. And if you have a look at the timing, and I was discussing this with Mr. Farden earlier before we came on, and I think a lot of people agree with him on this, but I'll go on this just because I think I have a difference of opinion to pretty much everyone else on this. I think that the timing of it, I think that the situation in the game made a huge amount of sense. I think that onside kicks are more of a chess match than any other play in the game. Onside kicks only work if the other team is not expecting it. And so doing it in an obvious situation, the defense is tired, they need a break, we're desperate to get points. That's when they're going to be looking out for onside kicks the most. So we've just had a really nice touchdown drive. We've given our defense a little bit of a rest. I think that at this point, that's the time where if you think it's necessary to do it to get back in the game, and I think that's where people will disagree, is that maybe it wasn't necessary to get back into the game. But if Dan Campbell thought we need to steal a possession here to get back in this, then I think the timing was probably the best it could be. And at the end of the day, the play design was also really good because they were slightly caught out. There was a little bit of confusion, but the ball needed about half a second more hang time. The guys knew it was coming and where it was coming, and they were there, but they were there about half a second late. Another little bit of elevation, and they're contacting the man in the air going for the ball, which is absolutely perfect. So those are those thin margins between winning and losing this game, but also the thin margins in terms of play execution, especially onside kicks, which are obviously a really lucky play one way or the other. And I think the downside wasn't too bad. Like, if your defense still is struggling a little bit on the sideline, you're ensuring that their drive is over quickly, whether it's a 3 and out or they score. There is less time for your defense to be on the field. So there's a little bit of upside either way. I know that you guys are probably going to disagree with a lot of that, and I talked a little bit before about what happened in the rest of that first half. So, anyone have a strong opinion on the onside kick or anything else?
Yeah, it was a ridiculous call. It was absolutely stupid. I mean, all the arguments you raised there, right? You know, we're going to give them a short field so they can either score quicker or whatnot. It's fine. Yeah, we're going to give them a 7-point lead, a bigger one than we are before. So, oh yeah, they've scored quicker. We've got more time on the clock. Yeah, we're 17 behind instead of 10. But not to take that into account. You're against an offense that's just put up 24 points on you in the second quarter and it's just sliced through you like a hot knife through butter, first drive of the second half. So what do? You go give them a short field at your own 49 by risking an onside kick. That's helpful. And like you said, a few plays later, we're 17 down. The hole's bigger. What good did it do? We scored 14 unanswered in the fourth quarter of this. We were only 10 behind at this point. There was loads of time left in this game. Loads. Now is not the time to go getting fancy. Got to try and put onside kicks in there. Putting a defense in a situation. The defense couldn't stop their offense. So why would you give it to them in our half instead of try and put them as far back as you can? At least if they're back at their own 15, their own 20, they've got to run it further down the field. Your odds of getting a stop go up compared to your own 49. It really does. You didn't need to do it because your defense was gassed, because you're in the second half. You know, we've just had a decent length drive. I think, Ryan, what did you say? 6.5 minutes, something like that. We've had a good drive. They've had time on the pitch. They're just out the end of the first half, so they've had the break as well. They ain't gassed, so you can get them on there, forcing out, get them to punt and back on again. But no, you know, we didn't give them much clock away, but yeah, 7 points more to go after. You're putting yourself in a hole again. 17 points behind halfway through the third quarter. It's a long way to come back from. And lo and behold, what do we lose by? 3. You know, we put 14 unanswered in the fourth, but we just come up that little bit short because we make these stupid mistakes and give them points. There was absolutely no sense to it whatsoever. None. You've just had a good drive. Go get your 3 and out. Go try and get your offense back on the field and do it again. You know, I agree with a lot of the decisions Campbell makes, the risky ones, especially the 4th down last year. I was a big proponent of them, but this just felt like they were trying to be way too clever and it burned them and it cost us ultimately the game. And, you know, I'm just tired of these little things going against us. It was unnecessary. It was unneeded. There was no call for it at all.
I think you can rationalize why it happened in terms of time in the game. I mean, to your point there, Ant, the defense hadn't done anything so far. They've been sliced apart. So you could argue that's Campbell saying it's going to happen whether they start at the 50 or their own 25. That's a pretty damning indictment of your own defense half a game into the season, if so. And I think where I stand on this is it's not like you thought we've got to make something happen here. Here's a 50-50 shot. It's like we've got to make something happen here. Here's a, 4-5% shot? I don't know the conversion of onside kicks, but from just a pure percentage standpoint, it doesn't seem to stack up for me. And given that I believe I'm right in saying that we had the most onside kicks last year and recoveries, but most onside kicks, do you not think Philly were probably thinking something like this might happen? So it's the element of surprise isn't there. The percentages aren't there. The rationalization for why at that time it might be a good idea to do it, I can get on board with, but I just don't think the percentages stack up. And I think it's not a great, I don't think it's very encouraging if I'm on that defense and you're basically saying, I'm going to have to do a sub 10% risk here because I don't think you're going to stop them and we need an extra possession.
Anyone else have a difference of opinion?
I've got to hit Ryan's one on this one, surely. Come on, Ryan.
It's not that strong. No, do you know what? The Lions take risks. It's not a surprise. The Lions, do you know what? We were reeling. If anything, an onside kick there was pretty damn predictable. I think last year Dan Campbell was cute and going for it this time. It's not that surprising anymore. Like I said, it's not that risky. Like I said, end of the day, it was executed poorly. if he does it well and we get the ball back, great. Like I said, I am with Tom. He said, yeah, I don't trust my defense. I don't think my defense can recover from that scoring drive. I still don't think they're ready to take the field. So we'll give the offense a go. Even though the offense was pitiful for the second quarter, I prefer them to have the ball for a drive than the defense. And it failed. Ultimately, like I say, by this time, the game's over for me. I don't think we're getting back in the game, even if we get the ball like an offense, because at this point, from what I've seen, we just weren't good enough and weren't competing well enough. So it rolled the dice. It didn't work. Would he still do it again tomorrow? Of course he would. Dan Campbell won't give a shit. He'd still do it again tomorrow. Is it? And I think he'd still take the criticism. Right? And that, for me, is when it becomes a problem. The definition of insanity is where he will keep trying things because he's still willing to take the risk, even if he knows what the outcome could be. I still think he'd do it. So it's one of them things. I think the first half is where we lost the game, but yeah, you could say this is a possession which was one of the nails in the coffin of the loss.
Yeah, right, let's get to the last bit of the game then. So just after losing that onside kick, you then have the Jalen Hurts late slide, Walker leaning into his head. And I will point out at this point, if you haven't watched it back in enough detail, Walker's going to go and hit his chest. Walker ain't going for the head. He's going straight for the chest. But Anzalone is also going for the tackle on Hurts. And Anzalone moves Hurts' head into his shoulder. So it's a late hit. Walker's doing it from a standing start. So there's very little force involved. He does obviously end up crushing into his head. Not a good look. Obviously the Philly guys react. He pushes one of them in the head. There's no separation between Walker's hand and the helmet. He's not like going away and hitting him. Like, he literally goes like that with his hand already on his head. Ant covered it very well earlier. I cannot...
But he's a dumbass. The official were under his chin. He deserved to be ejected. And I'm pissed off at Walker. I know he's apologised to him. It was idiotic. Like I said, I don't care if you punched him, slapped him. There's an official literally in your face. If you breathe on them the wrong way, you get another foul. And we know in this day and age, well, there was one where Hurts slides and Hutch rolls over him. We hit Hurts loads of times. We could have been called for a late hit on Hurts more than once. There were calls where we didn't get it. Like I said, in this day and age, when a QB goes to slide, just leave him. Like I said, I know it's hard, but he just didn't need to do it. Like I said, he clipped him, he dropped the shoulder, it clipped him. By the rules, it's a penalty. And it's the way it reacted as well for me. He gets pushed around, but he's not a kid. He knows he can't raise his hand. And he was having a really good point to that. We may get to overtime if Walker remains in that game. I really think that was a tide turner. I think momentum, that really hurt, and we were reeling after that. So for me, that was a big play.
And straight after this play, they then have a situation where I think it's Harris gets some penetration, getting chipped by Goddard, and then Goddard splits out, little floater pass over the top of him, and Goddard's just got no one around him, and ends up making 25 yards off from the 26-yard line, and it's like, oh, this is only the third or fourth time they've run plays from the 1-yard line, so this is going to work out well for us, and Boston Scott punches it in for the 4th rushing touchdown against us. 4th? 5th? 4th, I think. Can't remember. Anyway, Hock then, kind of on the next series, has a juggling catch, which is challenged but upheld. Really not sure about that. Pretty sure I saw the ball move. Pretty sure he controlled it at least partially with the ground. But I'll take it at this point. Swift then takes a screen pass. Second good screen pass, Ant. Takes that almost to the house, down to the 1-yard line, then punched in by Williams for his second. And then potentially the best player of the game for Detroit on the following series, the throw from Goff to Chark. Chark doesn't get too much separation, but just kind of running in stride with his man. And Goff, very much reminiscent actually of the A.J. Brown pass against Will Harris, just puts it in a place where only his guy can get it. And Chark, to his credit, makes a really great catch. Chark, really slow start to this game for me. One really bad drop. Didn't kind of look like he was up to it in the beginning. And then a couple of good catches, that one being the best of them. brings it to within 3. But then in the final possession, even though the Lions get to a 3 third down to fully convert, and then when they don't convert on 3rd down, they get there on 4th, and that's the game. Just the end of that game, boys. Did anyone believe in that final possession that we could maybe get the ball back and threaten them at all?
No, it felt like garbage time. Those last 14 points in that 4th quarter felt like padding the boots, just filling up the stats. I don't think we thought we could have won that game. If we're going to go into the mentality where like, oh, well, we didn't give up, oh, we kept hanging in there, but yeah, we were behind at every single stage. We were chasing the coattails. We were just hanging on for dear life. Like I say, we will have another terrible season. Like I say, if the first half, like I say, it's a momentum game. Like I say, you've got to follow, like Anne says, you've got to follow up scores with scores. Like I say, the first 2 drives are great. From downhill there, it's just all downhill. Like I say, offense needs some Viagra because it was pathetic. Goff, I've washed my hands of him. If Jerry Jones rings up and offers a great pick for Goff, I'm telling him to piss off, and you can give me Cooper Rush and a pick because we've seen it now. I know what we've got in him, and I can't wait to be drafting a new signal caller next year because this is how the season will be. There will be flashes of Goff, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be in games where it's a little bit too late. Like you say, Swift, offensive line, couldn't fault them. Fantastic. Like I say, defense just goes missing. What was it? 9 of 15 third downs they converted. It's about 6 fucking many. Like I say, we were pathetic on the money down. Like I say, drives, the time of possession just rinsed them. They were knackered, but it was their own fault because they just could not get off the field and just lapses of play. And I know the scoreline looks better, but if you ring up your bank and say, can I get a mortgage? Well, yeah, what are you going to pay in wins or losses? No, I'm going to pay it in. I don't give up. Oh, we were always in the game. No, that's not going to fly this year. I don't care. We were never in the game. We just weren't at any point in that game. And that is really frustrating. It's not acceptable come the end of this year. If we play this game 16 times over, fire Dan Campbell. He's gone because we're not winning games. I don't care about being 3 points off of overtime, but at one point we're like 20 down because we're just inept and we just go missing at points.
So Ryan's right. I mean, I thought I'd wake up this morning feeling a lot more positive about yesterday, but again, now that I've watched it again, I've stewed on things, and that 4th quarter was good. Don't get me wrong. We scored. We made defensive stops. We got our way back into the game, but like too many games last season, like with San Francisco opening game last year, you're behind by a chunk. You give yourself half a chance, but you're always too far behind. You're always going to be on the wrong side of it. There's very little chance you're actually going to come back and do it. And Dan Campbell, do I know this team can fight till the last minute? Yes, I do. I saw that last season. Do I know that they're not going to give up? Yes, I do, because I saw it last year. I need to see new things this season. What does grit mean? Dan Campbell talks about grit. Grit means to overcome, to show grit, to overcome a challenge, not to fall short. Not to try valiantly and fall short. To show grit and to show determination means you overcome your obstacles. And once again, we couldn't overcome our obstacles. Why couldn't we overcome our obstacles? Because we were too damn far behind in the game, because there was just too often we went missing. And you are left with an insurmountable lead at the end of the day. And it's easy to say, yeah, could we have stopped it and got one more drive on the end? If there were 5 minutes left in that game, I could have fully believed we'd go on and win it, but there weren't 5 minutes left because we were digging out such a big hole. We had to give up time to be able to get back into it. And this season, it is not going to cut it. Now, don't get me wrong. Did I see lots of good things yesterday? Yes, I did. I saw a great run game. I saw some rookies really ball out and play well. And individually, I got a lot of satisfaction from some of the players out of this game. But this means nothing if you lose to Washington next week. The whole point of showing a battling performance like this against a team like the Eagles, showing that you can compete against the better rosters, the whole point of that is to set you up to beat the teams around you, the ones who are not quite as good, the ones who are on the level you're at. And Washington ain't it. They are nowhere near as good as this Eagles team. And if you're at home and you lose to Washington next week, this performance is in vain and means nothing. That is the be all and end all of it here. And I need to see that this team has the grit to get over the line and win games, not the grit to battle hard and fall short. I know it's not exactly the same reference here, but I saw the Chicago Bears go head to head with the San Francisco 49ers yesterday, who are one of the best teams in the NFC. I know you will disagree, Matt. They found a way to win. Yes, it was maybe on a swimming pool rather than a football field, but they gritted it out and they found a way to win with no offensive line, with no receivers. They managed to beat them. And why? Because they're used to winning more games than us. They're used to having a little bit more success than us. Teams like that find a way to win. They did, we didn't. It's the classic case of stuff like this. And I'm fed up of seeing them grind out wins like that and us not be able to do it. We've got to beat Washington next week, plain and simple, for this to mean anything. Otherwise, it's just another hard luck story, and we've had enough of those over the years.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on, Tom.
No, you go, man.
No, I'm just going to be nice and quick, really. Basically, everything you said there, boys, is exactly what I agree with. It's kind of like, you don't want to say that same old Lions thing, because I don't think it's exactly fair, but it's scripts that we've seen before where we're just always chasing our tail, and we just leave ourselves with far too much work to do. And then, with who got Walker getting ejected, and times when you need him, he's having a really good game at parts. Yesterday he got a sack and stuff like that, and was having a good game. We just keep giving ourselves way too much to do for me, and it's next week is. I literally can't wait for Sunday. So already, because we're going to find out so much about what's gone on this week on the practice field and in preparation for this one. Because we lose to these, then it could be another real bad year again.
Yeah, it's really the one thing. I agree with everything, and same old Lions doesn't resonate with me at all. But was it similar to some of the stuff we saw last year? Was it Will Harris giving up plays? Was it Jared Goff turning the ball over? Was it appalling tackling? Was it boneheaded penalties, 12 men on the field? This kind of stuff we saw from Jamie Collins and laughed him out the building. We saw from Tracy Walker. We saw the Anzalone one again was soft, but it's still the kind of shit you can't do. And so it's that kind of stuff which is slightly disheartening to see again. But what it comes down to, like, we can live with all that. I don't like it, but we can. We're not meant to beat the Eagles when we're 17 points down. We are meant to beat the Commanders. That is what we need to see year two. The only thing which I feel like I need to see this year is not us beating the Eagles. And whilst I'd love us to beat the Packers in the middle of the season, it's not that either. It's about taking care of business with these middle-of-the-road teams, as Ant says, and showing that we are not that same old Lions. That's really the one thing for me. I'd love to see other stuff too, but that's the non-negotiable really for progress here. And to me, that doesn't even come down to the number of wins we get this year. If we win 5, 6, or if we win 9, 10, it's about like taking our wins like when we should. Those games that we have to win and we know we should win, we just go and do it. And it's not we squeak it out. It's, you know what, we bury a team by a couple of touchdowns, and it's not that exciting, to be honest. It's just there. That's what good teams do. And that's what I need to see this year.
Yeah, we need a performance like we did against the Cardinals last year. We need that against Washington right now. We need that performance. That's what we need.
So I'm going to kind of differ from everyone else. It feels like I'm on one side of the fence here with everyone else, but I'm going to go for it because I need to inject a bit of positivity into this. And I think it maybe comes from the fact that I'm just far higher on this Eagles team than pretty much everyone else, and maybe far lower than San Francisco. I don't know what other people think about San Francisco, and I'm thinking that they're a legit team, but I think they're the epitome of a 9-8 side at the moment. But anyway, on the Eagles, I still think this is going to be the number one team in the NFC. I just think that on both sides of the ball, super strong, quite deep. You look all over the field, there doesn't really seem to be a weakness. If there is a weakness, it's Jalen Hurts. And look what he did today. And he's going to do that. He's going to be able to do that to every team in the league. The problem with him has always been his passing ability. And you know what? That showed up yesterday too. Like, He was on target with a lot. There weren't many mistakes he made, so they executed well when they needed to. But what happened is that we actually did manage to make adjustments, which stopped Jalen Hurts doing what he needed to do. Now, they came too late, to Ryan's point, when we were basically out of the game. But halfway through the third quarter, Hurts was continuing to get flush out of the pocket and trying to run. But we were taking him down for sacks, or, well, not sacks, but like no gains or 2-yard gains, not the 15 or 20-yard gains we were seeing earlier. And that wasn't anything on Philly's part. They weren't doing anything differently. But we'd adjusted our defense to what he was doing. That's what got us back in the game. They weren't playing us soft. They didn't change anything. They did not change their habits. They were throwing it just as much as they were. We improved massively in this game in the second half. And the run game went a bit pedestrian in that second quarter. But for the first, third, and fourth quarters, we absolutely dominated them on the ground, which is going to be a sustainable way that this offense consistently wins. Now, I want to see some complementary football. We put Goff in bad passing situations on third and long, where we ran a couple of plays on first and second down, and then we wonder why Goff can't make some completions, not aided by some drops. But we weren't playing complementary football on offense, so I want to have a look at Ben Johnson for that. But then I'm looking at other parts of this offense and thinking, actually, the play designs on some of these plays are far more inventive than what we had last year. The run game, which is what Anthony Lynn was meant to be good at, is much better this year. The scheming is much better this year. We need to get on the same page with some of our receivers with Goff, because that was one of the letdowns too. But at the end of the day, I never felt like we did in week 1 last year against San Francisco. Someone said to me, oh, we went down big and came back as exactly the same. But at no point did I feel like we were being totally outclassed. I felt like the difference in this game was maybe the pick six. If that play doesn't happen and we end up getting a touchdown on that drive, and considering what happened at the start and end of these games, I have no reason to think that that momentum killer wasn't the reason why it didn't happen in the middle of the game. You get a touchdown on that drive, the whole game is different. And I know there's ifs and buts and maybes, but that's a massive error from Goff where he's not playing well. The rest of the game was actually really good. Like, have a look at that second half and point to where we really could have improved massively. Like, I think that this showed massive promise. We hung 35 points on one of the best defenses in the league. They weren't playing prevent defense. This was nothing like the San Francisco game. We took the game to them, made them look bad. You have a look at what the Philly beat writers are saying about this game, and they are tearing their own team to shreds because we made Philly look bad in parts. And that's a great takeaway for us. Yes, the L is bad. I'd never want to lose a game. But I feel better about this team now than I did yesterday.
No, the Philly media are tearing the Eagles' defense for not being good. Not for us being good. It's because they were bad. You know,
but they don't care about us.
All right, okay, I'm going to challenge you. You're going to say, oh yeah, we made adjustments. We stopped Jalen Hurts from running when they'd scored 31 points. Oh yeah, we made adjustments when they dropped over 30 on us. That's wonderful, isn't it?
Okay, but they scored 31 points with like 10 minutes left in the third quarter. If we hadn't made those adjustments, it would have been 60 or 70 burger.
You know, you said we weren't outclassed. Second quarter, we got outplayed fully. We got absolutely bullied. The offense was made to look terrible. The defense was shredded to bits. And once again, 24 points down there. And then we make a comeback in the second half. I'm sorry, it's too late. I'm not having this where we're going, oh, we made adjustments when we're 31 points down. That's ridiculous. Oh, we got to do that every week. Oh, but we made adjustments at the half every single game. Oh yeah, we were down 30 in most of these games. I'm sorry.
I did say we were too late. It's not like I didn't make that point clear.
But then that's not a positive. That's not a positive.
No,
when you're making adjustments when the game is gone, that is not a positive. Is it? Is that what you want to see this season? Us make adjustments when the game is lost?
Well, I want to see us make adjustments ideally on time. But if they don't get made at all, that's where it really gets worrying. Sorry, Ryan.
I'll ask a quick question. It's more of a question. What did you think of the play calling, especially? I know that free and outs, I think it was in a way. But what did you think overall of the play calling, like, especially after that, drive that with the touchdown, which was, obviously scripted more than likely. But what do you think with? Because that's obviously why we got ourselves in such a hole, because we couldn't do anything with 3 possessions on offense.
In general, I thought it wasn't great. I've seen the conversion breakdowns. We were one of the worst teams in the league yesterday on converting on first down. 18%. We were like third bottom. We were dreadful on first down. We were a bit better on second down. On third down, well, because we had to get there, we were like on 79%. And then fourth quarter, like you said, the first 2 downs of most of the drives were crap. Like you say, more of that draw bullshit. I know Swift has bulked up, but trying to run up the middle, no. We've seen that. We saw that with Lynn. We saw that with Dan Campbell. We saw that with Matt Patricia. Like you say, the early downs for a lot of the game were not good. Like you say, and that is where a lot of the drives stopped. The second half was better, but we can't keep going back to the old warring hole. We're not built for it. As good as the O-line was, we were never going to win running up the middle. So we have got next week. What I want to see is first down, not 3rd and 5, not 3rd and 11, and then we get nice toss time on Ra Brown, like I said, but we've wasted 3 minutes. What I want to see is us get to second down and convert, not be getting to third down at all. Like I said, the offense had some chunk plays, like I said, Swift. If you take away the 50-yard run, like you say, was he very good on first and second down? No, he probably wasn't. He did get some big chunk plays. So I'd say the play calling was average at best.
I want to say that Aaron Glenn's was really good. I feel because I'm really frustrated with this game, and I feel like I've been entirely negative so far. And that's not really a perception. I think that a lot of positives came out this game. I just think the overall story of it really annoys me. But I loved what Aaron Glenn was doing in terms of the aggression of the defense. You saw him blitz quite a lot. You saw the NASCAR patch. I love the NASCAR stuff, putting Aiden and Charles up together. We got 19 pressures in this game. Now, we only got 1 sack out of it, which is poor. We need to execute a little bit better, but we brought a lot of pressure to this game, and, it worked in some areas. Yes, we do need to tighten up a bit against the run and that, but if you think, Aiden missed a couple of potential sacks there, he overshot a little bit. I think Charles overshot one as well. I'm pretty sure Barnes overshot a potential sack as well in this. So, execution, it comes over time. I'll get it. But on a different day, if that 1 sack turns into 3 or 4, then that aggression on paper, it shows up a lot more. But I want Aaron Glenn to be more like that this year. We said it was too conservative last year. It wasn't this year. It was really good. It's just the fact that their 2 big playmakers made lots of plays. AJ Brown made our secondary look stupid, and it happens. But overall, I liked what Aaron Glenn did, and I want to see more going forward, especially next week. We bring the NASCAR stuff up, the overloaded edges against Carson Wentz, we're going to kill him. So that's certainly a reason for optimism.
Just to say, pre-season, this was the #1 ranked offensive line. I think we've got to keep that in mind as well. Like, the strength on both sides of the ball. Like, I think that AG was on a hiding to nothing, and actually I think he's getting lambasted out there because of how much Hurts escaped. But he was only having to escape because we were getting pressure up there. Like, our guys were doing a job on that offensive line, which is really encouraging. Sorry, boys, have you got anything further to go?
I think the other thing to say there is it's easy to look at AJ Brown's stat line, Will Harris giving up a big play, Amani seemingly, he can never get the balance of physicality right. He's either way too handsy or he plays flag football and just gives people loads of separation. So putting that to one side, I think given the disaster that was the Detroit Lions in coverage last year, I was actually pleasantly surprised with, in general, some of the coverage. And when you think about Hurts rolling out, he's doing that because he's working through his 1-2 progressions or potentially more, and there isn't anything there. So I think we do have to at least shout out probably the backers in coverage as much as anything. Okudah, obviously, I think Okudah maybe got a little bit too much love, which I'm here for because I love Okudah, but he was definitely an improvement. Amani, not great, but there was definitely something there where last year, it was so demoralizing to watch, knowing that not only could teams run on us whenever they want, but they could pass on us whenever they want. And there was nothing we could do. It felt like that wasn't quite the case this time. Yes, Hurts bouncing out the pocket and us not keeping contain was frustrating, but without seeing the all 22, it's hard to know. That definitely felt like something which took at least a small step forward for the defense.
My closing comment is, whatever we do this season, like I say, whatever we do in practice squad, we need to find a mobile quarterback that we can practice against. We did not see it in pre-season. We saw a bit of Max Mariota. We didn't contain him. We didn't do it against last season. This team has not prepared, and we are just not capable of stopping a QB that can shred you with his legs. Like I say, because we just haven't had one on the team really to go against, to see week in, week out. And I want to bring in a guy that can be, like I say, it doesn't have to be good, but can be shifty like that, because this is the way the league is going. In 2-3 years' time, everyone's going to be like Jalen Hurts. And if we can't stop it, we'll be drafting first every year, because everyone will have one of them fuckers. Hopefully we will. But the league is adapting. Like, the game is adapting. It hurt us a lot last year. That's just what I want to say. Like I say, let's just focus now on trying to just contain guys. Like I say, it won't matter next week. So I say, Carson Wentz, like I say, he's okay, but he's a bit of a lamppost. If this game had Carson Wentz in it, I'd like to think he's leaving in the body bag. Hutch will be at his funeral doing Billie Jean. That would have killed the fucker. Like I say, I want to slaughter him next week. Like fuck him. Like I say, yeah, it's our nemesis. Mobile quarterbacks and third downs.
I think just one thing that I kind of took away from this was that the offense looked a heck of a lot better when they didn't have to think as much. Like, when there was some urgency in the play, there were several kind of out routes to Chark to Reynolds that come to mind, where they were in acres of space, ball delivered on time, and, we're making chunk plays. There was a pass that Goff actually missed to Reynolds deep on the right-hand side, overthrew it by, I don't know, half a yard or so, a yard. And that's the difference in this game. But when we needed to have it, or when it was just about pass needing to have it, so end of the first, end of the third, all the way through the fourth, the offense just rumbled. It really just went, and it looked like a slick machine. It looked like everything that the guys in the media were saying about this offense in preseason was coming true, but just after we needed it. To Ant's point earlier, maybe I'm kind of contradicting myself, but one thing I want to see from this offense is, can we look like that when we don't need to? Like, start the game and carry on with that. Can Goff kind of play like the game is on his back? Because he seems to deal with that quite well. So I want to see Goff go, you know what, it's on me, and I need to get us out to a 20-point lead. Because one thing I think about Goff is that I don't ever see us going out to a 20-point lead. I just don't think he's got it in him.
No, I agree. But, I mean, for the most part, we started all right in this. I mean, the run blocking was tremendous. I just want to say how great it was in this game. I mean, the one that Jeff Schwartz was highlighting earlier on Twitter, that was the second play of the game, the trap that they did. Everyone got their blocks absolutely perfect. All 5 offensive linemen. TJ came across, took out the edge. Monroe came out, took out the safety. DeAndre beat his man, the one-on-one in the field. It was seamless. It was perfect. And a lot of the game, the run blocking was tremendous. And, that's absolutely wonderful to see, because that's going to be our strength. Feeding DeAndre the ball going forward is great. And you've got to credit them all for that. Even Logan. Logan's taken a bit of a hammering because, he made some bad plays in this one. But when it came to the run game, even he was really good. Everyone was pointing out the 2 holding penalties he got in a row on that first drive. What no one's talking about is on that second down after he's made those 2 plays, he makes the block that allows Swift to make that long run, which gets it to third and manageable, so that TJ can get down for the first down. That was Logan blocking that after 2 bad plays, and no one said a word. It just seems to be very fashionable to beat up on the rookie. But all 5 of them were great. And even the wide receivers, you saw it several plays on this one. We were able to run it because the blocking was just bang on. So certainly this offense looks a lot better than it did this time last year. But it's like you said, Matt, it needs to operate in more favorable situations to us. Like when we're 7-0 up and we've just forced a fourth and, we've forced a fourth and out, we've turned over on downs. That's when it needs to hit the money and make it right. And hopefully we can do it. But overall, yeah, you can't have no complaints about that run game. It just looked better than it's looked in forever and a day. Got to credit Hank for that. Looked amazing.
Does Stenberg start next week?
Yes.
Or does Kramer go straight in? I wouldn't be surprised if they tinker. I would probably disagree with it. I can see them saying that Kramer is the guy, but that would probably annoy me.
So with Logan, you've got to understand that's his first NFL start. I know he's a third-year guy now, but it's his first start at short notice because, this time last week, Halapoulivarti hadn't been ruled out. Kramer was going to start. He was technically the third-string guy, and they've brought him in last minute into this game. And, everyone highlights the bad plays of him, but a lot of it was early in this game. The 2 holding calls, one of the quarterback hits, sack, they were all early in this game. The second half, a lot better. When you're in an offensive line, which allows your running back to run 140 yards, then all 5 of them are contributing. We saw last year when Matt Nelson was just, absolutely useless, that one bad egg on a 4-5-man offensive line, your run game don't work. So all of them contribute to that. And I would like to think as the game got on, he looked better. Don't knock his confidence by taking him out now. At least give him another shot to rectify himself against the Washington. And if he gets rid of the calls, the false starts, if he gets rid of some of these pressures, then go with it. If not, great, put Kramer in. But you can't just give him one game and then pull him. Because I thought he looked good in a lot of plays, even in pass protection. I've watched a lot of the plays closer. He looked good. It was just, people are focusing on the negative plays too much.
Yeah, I can't get on board with Stenberg. But that's not to say I think he should be kind of thrown in the fire, cut him, do all of that. Not at all. But he did struggle. Yes, it was his first game, but he's played lots of football this preseason. Not against this level, but he still played lots of football. And for me, if Kramer is fully healthy, he's just about ready to go in the same way like Ragnow's clearly just about ready to go, so you want him in there. If Kramer is healthy, I think he goes in ahead of Stenberg because he was ahead of Stenberg from a depth chart standpoint. And I don't think that because he wasn't available this week and if Stenberg can play really well, then you take your chance, you keep your slot. I just didn't think he did. So for me, if Kramer is fully healthy, I would put him in. And that doesn't mean Stenberg, you had your shot, one game, you're done here. And realistically, I think the chances are he probably does start next week. But if Kramer is healthy, that's who I would put in.
2 more things to kind of pick up on here, and then we'll call it a night. The second is going to be a player of the game, and maybe we should take Swift out of it because that's too obvious. So get thinking, guys, and I'll go around the room thinking of a player of the game. But before that, just going to go to Ryan Farden and talk about Ford Field and the sellout and the standing room only, and the fact that the Philadelphia Eagles were really struggling to get players in, several delay of game penalties, several false start penalties because of the noise. Apparently Penei Sewell was really struggling to hit on offense what the plays were from Jared Goff. What did you make of the stadium itself, man?
Yeah, I mean, it was noticeable, wasn't it? And the fact that they let everyone know that it was a sellout with only standing room or barely standing room only or whatever. But it should be like that, shouldn't it? I mean, Hard Knocks probably helped with that a little bit with people, getting behind the team and believing and everything in what Dan Campbell's trying to do. But yeah, it was great to hear it so loud, and that's what you expect, because at the end of the day, there's one thing that has been a major criticism of Ford Field is that Lions fans sometimes don't even turn up. I mean, when we were there for the Thanksgiving game, I mean, there was like rows upon rows of empty seats. So, and that's like meant to be our main game of the year. So, yeah, but just great, absolutely great. That's what you want, and obviously, I think with Hutchinson, it's going to keep on continuing to get louder there as we progress. Hopefully.
So I was lucky enough to speak to Herman Moore on LNU, Lions Nation Unite yesterday. He was on the post game show, and I got to speak to him, and he was asked about this. I don't know if I asked. In fact, I might have asked him about it actually. I said, "What was the atmosphere like?" Because he was there at the game. His words: he's never heard the atmosphere like that at Ford Field before, even during his playing days. He said most days that he's there, because he's got his own suite, you have to kind of whisper to people because people out in the stands like next to you are going to be able to hear you. It's that quiet. He said he couldn't hear himself. You were stood right next to someone, you tried to say something, he could not hear them. He said the atmosphere is unlike anything he's ever seen before, and I think that just shows the buy-in that the city is giving Dan Campbell at this point, which is why I'm sort of absolutely desperate for the team to garner a few wins and beat some of these teams last year, because you will not get buy-in like this from the fans very often, and you need to take advantage of it while you can. But yeah, he said it was incredible, and it was great to hear. I loved hearing it and barely being able to hear the calls, and that is just like, finally, everyone seems to be together supporting this team, and it was a great atmosphere. And like he said it's the best it's ever been, and can't argue with a Lions legend.
All right, let's move on to player of the game. And I'm ruling out Swift, because otherwise it's just going to be unanimous. You can't pick Swift. Player of the game for you boys. Who wants to start us off?
I'll go. So I think, well, I'm only going to name one name, because otherwise you just go around. Panay Sewell for me. I can't help but want to watch him whenever he's playing. And again, we're not going to do same old, but it was a similar story in that he was just creating gaping holes. The play before the first Lions touchdown, he just obliterates Fletcher Cox, puts him 4 or 5 yards back, gaping hole for Jamal Williams, and then Bing Sewell flexes afterwards. I'm just like, yeah, give me every piece of that, inject it into my veins. So it wasn't flashy. There was definitely a player that I can think of one in particular where he missed one of his blocks and it was stopped for no gain or potentially even a yard loss. He wasn't perfect, but I don't think there were many really standout performances, Swift being the obvious one. And for me, Sewell just takes another step of being exactly what you want him to be, which is always solid and sometimes exceptional. And we don't have many players who are offering that, to be honest. We have plenty of players who are solid and fine and frustrating at times, but like Sewell just, for me, is continuing that ascension to becoming one of the best right tackles in the league.
I'm going to say it before anyone else does, because, championed him all summer, but it's Malcolm Rodriguez for me. I'm going to say it because all throughout the summer, he's been doubted ever since we drafted him by a lot of people. No, there are a lot who haven't, but the attitude he's brought to this team since day one, to come in as a 6th round pick, to just get his head down, to work hard, to keep grinding and grinding and grinding, catch the attention of his coaches, of his positional coach, who literally said on Hard Knocks, you're going to force me to play him. He's playing this well, to his senior linebackers. And everyone said, oh, it's just hype. He's just a 6th round pick. Yeah, it's just hype at this point. He gets on the field in preseason. Oh, yeah, well, it's just preseason. It's just hype. He's still got to do it at the NFL level. Well, he's just done it at the NFL level for you. I know the numbers won't stick out and it won't be, great on level. This is his first ever game, potentially, as a 6th round rookie. He starts, he comes in, and he looks damn good. He is mixing it up with players far bigger than him. He hip tosses Jason Kelsey, who's 75 pounds heavier than him. He makes big plays in the backfield. The running back, he speared him upside down, just took him down. He's physical, he's aggressive. And Dan Campbell just said that, just today, he didn't miss a single assignment. This is a 6th round rookie playing in his first NFL game ever. Did not miss one assignment the entire game. And he is the model of everything you want a player to be here. And for me, that just, he's played the game. Congratulations. It's been great. Keep playing that way. Keep developing. Keep fighting. We may have one of the best 6th round picks we've ever found here if he carries on the way he is. So, great work, Malcolm.
Topped the charts for the defense per PFF with 73.4 overall grade, but he didn't do that on limited snaps like we've seen before. He played 46 of 75 snaps, but 50-50 run defense and coverage. And They credited him with a 29.9 tackling grade, which isn't the best, missed 2 out of 5. But he was just consistently, as you say, filling gaps, making tackles, and creating a nuisance for himself. Linebacker, traditionally one of the hardest places to play in the NFL. That's why it's not highly regarded at the top of the draft. To see a linebacker up there is a surprise, generally. Like, you don't get linebackers to grade at the top of the PFF charts, generally. You just don't. So, well done to Malcolm. Ryan, your picks.
Well, I'm going to say Jeff, because it's really easy. Like, if he has a bad game, everyone turns on him. He just becomes the scapegoat again, doesn't he? Like you say, he's that kind of player. He's very easy to target. Like I say, and do you know what? Was he flashy? Was he brilliant? No. Was it big for his confidence to come in and have a solid game and get targeted? He gave up, like you say, a few receptions, but they were all the minimum. Like I say, did Devonta Smith do anything against him? Nothing, no. Like I say, he was in his back pocket. So it was a tough assignment, but he looks different. Like I say, he's been mentally tested now. Like I say, physically, he's probably battled with hard thoughts, probably some depression of not playing. This was probably the most solid game, or one of the most solid games he's played so far. And he can only come on and get better and better. Like I said, he's got a very, I think it's a benchmark right now where he's playing, he's solid, he's sound. He only comes out if he does need a rest while he's getting back to help. And I think that first interception will come very quickly. It could come as quick as next week. Like I said, people will take him lightly because they think he's a bust. People think that he will never live up to the potential of third overall, and he may never. But that don't mean you can take him for granted and try to pick on him, because we've seen he is one of the best tacklers on the team. Like I say, he wraps up. He's one of the best technicians. And I think through all the adversity he's been, I think we're going to see the best version of him this year. And he, for me, is head and shoulders cornerback one. He's the only guy I trust to put on their best receiver for every snap of the field. He may get burned once or twice, but he will come back. The DPI, very harsh. Sauce Gardner makes a very similar play and does not get called for it, and he's fucking all over a guy. So the officials, let's say, that hurt his PFF score, but I'm so happy to see him. Like I say, after everything he's been through, I didn't know if we'd get to this point. I didn't know if we'd see him in a Lions jersey again, or if they'd jettisoned him. But yeah, I think he is going to be a mainstay this year.
63.1 PFF grade, but elite tackling grade of 82.8. Made 9 tackles, and including 2 assists. No misses. So that's really, really good to see. It's meant to be a strength, and he really showed that. Ryan.
Like Hurst was scared to throw at him.
Yeah.
I feel like they deliberately did not throw at Jeff because you saw Amani get burned so off. They went to the other side of the field.
Ryan, your pick?
I would have gone, to be honest, you probably would have gone with Jeff, but I think there's two. One, that when you get the ball into Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think that you know things are going to happen, good things are going to happen when you actually, get in the ball. So I was pleased with him in certain aspects. And I know that probably when you go by the grades and everything like that, that Aiden Hutchinson might not have shown much on that side of things. But for me, he's one of those players that just makes quarterbacks obviously very uncomfortable out there, and gets them running at least and everything. So I just thought that you saw a real star there, which I think we all know we've got. And please God, he obviously remains healthy and everything. But I think that, Aiden Hutchinson is just going to be one of those players that every week we're going to start talking about him more and more. And I was really pleased with a lot of what he'd done. I mean, the geezer was breathing out of his arse at times in there, and he was still going 100 miles an hour. So, I think that, Aiden Hutchinson is probably just going to get the nod from me. But like I say, I was pleased to see Amon-Ra St. Brown finally, when he got the ball, do things as well. But yeah, Aiden for me.
And Hutch he's probably not going to play a better pair of tackles all year than those two, as in that is a strong line. You've got a quarterback who is going to bail out as soon as he can. So there wasn't a load of kind of deep drop backs from the quarterback where you've got your your 3-4 seconds to win, to be honest. He still did get a few pressures, but it seems like they were similar to high rookies all the time, but it seemed like a little bit of an overreaction. Some people jumping on him already. I thought he did he wasn't out of this world like we'd all love him to be, but there was a lot of good stuff too. Quickly on Okuda, quick public service announcement. I'm slightly worried about next week. I do not turn on Jeff Okuda if he gets beaten for a big play next week, is all I'm going to say. The way the Commanders play, their receivers on the outside, Dotson's a 4-4 guy, McLaurin's a 4-3 guy. You can tell Okuda doesn't quite trust his pedal yet. Just come on. Patience, people, if there's a big play next week.
It won't matter
So,
because
for a minute, I thought you were about to say Washington have signed Bam, and he was worried that Bam was going to truck Okuda.
So
deep threat.
Right, as Ryan said, I think Hutchinson's going to have a bit of a field day with Wentz next week, so he won't be able to even get it down past the line of scrimmage, let alone down the field. Please, God.
Oh yeah, over 2 sacks for Aiden next week. I'm quite happy making that bet.
Just to finish up on this game, I had 2 names in mind, and neither of them have been said, which is quite fun. So the first one was the man who got ejected, and it's the only reason why you can't pick him. But Walker had an absolutely fantastic day. He was the one of only 2 guys who posted average or better scores across the spectrum per PFF, and you saw that on the field, right, Walker? He had the sack on the safety blitz, he had the knockdown at the line with Hurts throwing in the end zone, he was wrapping up on his tackles, looked super solid all game, and just one moment of madness rules him out from this. But I thought he had a terrific game, really kind of backing up his pay packet. That was really cool. But I'm going to choose Mike Hughes. And I think this is quite spicy and quite fun. But this is the second guy. The only 2 on the defense who posted good or better grades across the spectrum. So that's total defense, run defense, tackling, pressure, and coverage. And him and Walker are the only 2 to actually post 60 or better. Hughes, at the cornerback position, a position that in this scheme means that you really have to tackle well above all else. If everything else falls away, but you can tackle well, that means a heck of a lot. His grade, when the guy was potentially expected to not even make this team at some point in the off-season because of how much he's making, the fact that he didn't do the business in pre-season, comes in, tackles well, covers well, creates some pressure, had a quarterback hit, and you barely heard his name a lot of the time. A couple of really nice tackles on special teams as well. So you have a look at AJ Parker. He posted an average, I think, 40 grade for last season. Hughes has come in for game 1, 67 grade. It's not setting the world on fire, but I thought he did really, really solidly for game 1, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do next week. So,
not just Coleman, because Justin Coleman came in and did that for 6 weeks. He lit shit up, and then that guy just packed his bags and said,
he's not got any punches out the ball yet. So I'm not gonna say he's that.
And at least we're not paying him like 40-odd million either. So there's that as well. I do one player I want to give a shout out. He wasn't like the best in the world, but I do want to give a shout out to Bugs Bunny. I thought he was actually really good. I criticised his tackling when he came in. I think his overall tackle rating is 25%. It's really, really poor. He posted about 70% this week. It was really good. He had the battered down pass to say the touchdown been thrown. He got a couple of quarterback pressures on as well. Given the lack of depth we have at interior D at the minute, I was really worried about having him in there. But I thought he did pretty decent, all things considered. So, give a pass to Bugs there. He did well. Surprised me.
Right. I think it's time to call it a night there, boys, unless anyone else has something that they want to bring up. No? All right.
Good to have football back.
It is amazing
Great.
to have football back. Ken said, who's Bugs? Is that a real name? Isaiah Bugs, the nose tackle. So.
Yeah, I call him Bugs Bunny because he kind of hopped up and backed down that pass out there, and I've kind of just used it ever since. I am being serious here. Bugs, I do mean Bugs. I'm not just making shit up here.
It's a kind of good that you brought him up right at the end of the show, so I could go with that's all, folks. But anyway, then.
Did he? That's all. But you got to do it properly.
Next episode is going to be on the main show Thursday, 15th September. It's the Washington Commanders preview show. But before that, potentially we've got the College Football Podcast coming up. And Ryan, a lot of upsets this week to talk about.
Yeah. I still don't know where we're going to start with this yet, but yeah, we're back on Wednesday, so join it up. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about basically. So yeah, come and join. It's a fun world at the minute there.
It's going to be brutal. I am going to shit all over some people.
You are going to see an all-time rant from Ryan about Notre Dame, and it is going to be one for the ages. So come along and laugh. It's going to be fun.
If you're an Iowa fan, I beg you look away as well. You don't want to watch.
He's got a list on his wall. It's like a target list, and he will obliterate them one by one.
I'm sure that Buffalo will be on there as well.
There's like 20 teams that could be on there. In fact, there's Texas A&M, there's Buffalo, there's Utah State. They all got blown out. So
Tanner McKee, he's a bum.
Anthony Richardson, that hype train's dead, which we said it would be, and it only took a week for Anthony Richardson's hype train to die. So,
Yeah, fun stuff. If you want to find out who we should and shouldn't draft, you need to keep an eye on that College Football Podcast all the way through the season. But otherwise, Thursday, I'm going to hope to get the DC Tweet team on again on Thursday. I haven't contacted them yet, so, no promises there. But hopefully we get Maurice back on. The last time we saw him during the draft process, he was at their draft show at the stadium in Washington and called into the show. So I can't wait to talk to him again. That was really, really cool. Just finally, please do like and sub and all that good stuff. If you've got any comments about this game, you disagree with what we've said, you're a bit less same old Lions than some of these four were in this game, then maybe you want to leave a comment below and tell them how wrong they are. Otherwise, our socials, you can follow us on Royal Lions UK on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. The group for worldwide fans on Facebook, Detroit Lions Fans UK One Pride Worldwide, run by very own Ryan Farden. Articles, royallionsuk.com. We did have a preview article come out. Ash Soden got it very, very wrong, but we won't hold that against him. He was on with me yesterday during the game, and that was really good fun at the back end of the show. But boys, football's back. We lost, but it was interesting, and what a week one in the NFL. Can't wait for Sunday. It's going to be fun. A game that we should win. We'll see you on Thursday. Let's go Lions. One Pride.
One Pride.
One Pride.